Right, we're here in beautiful Brentford with the founder of Matchroom, the legendary Barry Hearn, OBE. Barry, thanks for talking to us today.
Pleasure to welcome you, my friend.
Thank you. First of all, how are you?
I'm good. Enjoying life, trying to retire. Not actually getting that successful at that, but I'm giving it a good go. I will get there eventually. The trouble is with me is my whole life is so much fun, you know, and the event business has been my life for 45 years. It's tough to just stop. So it's a slow panned out experience, putting a lot of fishing in, just trying to clear my brain, bits and pieces, but life is sweet. Listen, the world's messed up, isn't it? It's everywhere. Sadly, at the moment, so let's try and help those around us and enjoy ourselves as much as we can.
100%.
So I'm there. I'm still digging in there.
Good stuff. Snooker keeps you on your toes, especially with the, as they've been christened, the Macau 5.
Yep.
It probably doesn't come as a surprise to you that situations like this arise when players are looking to kind of maybe increase their income.
I think everyone's quite selfish in life, aren't they? And I don't blame them. I think it's human nature. So you have a situation where an offer came up to some players to earn more money, which meant that they didn't play in an official World Snooker Tour event. Is that players' choice? Well, it is, of course, and it's players' choice whether they sign the terms and agreements that World Snooker operate, which they do. So by playing in that event, they would have been in breach of the World Snooker agreement. Thank goodness, before it got to that stage, they understood the wisdom of the world, and the event didn't get played in, and it's actually been delayed to a date that is acceptable. So World Snooker are quite happy for people to play in other events, providing it doesn't clash with something where we've made guarantees as an organisation to sponsors, to broadcasters, to fans. We can't let them down because they will be upset with us. So we have to insist on those rules. But the Macau 5 will get their few pieces of silver at some stage, and good luck to them. As long as they follow the rules, we'll get on fine. I have to say, I feel a bit of a cheat even answering the question because, of course, I'm the president of World Snooker. I'm not an executive of World Snooker. I don't actually make that decision.
I see.
So the management would follow the contract, and should any player obviously make a decision that goes against that contract, then under the rules they will be referred to disciplinary, and that's an independent process beyond anyone's control. You never like it to go like that. We'd like everyone to work in harmony, but people are people. You know, people will be, looking to make the most money they can in a short career of a sportsman. I understand that, but they have to understand the way this business has been built. And Aaron Bevan would have been a fan of the World Snooker Tour because it works on the basis of collective bargaining. So any socialist or communist would tell you that if the workforce is unified, they are strong. If they weaken, and there are ways where individuals can cause problems for that particular entity, they will be weak. Under the World Snooker contract, we are strong, which is why these other events happen, because everyone wants to do a snooker event. We've paid the price to get there, but now we have to capitalise on it for the benefit of 130 players. That's it. Not for the benefit of 5.
Right, exactly. Well, it's reminded me of when Manchester United refused to take part in the FA Cup. Do you remember? In 2006, and then they went and played in the World Club Championship. Massive hoo-ha at that point in time. Never happened again though, has it?
No, never happened again. And I think the players understand. I mean, in the short term, they're a few pound out. But what we say is, look, we publish a calendar. There's plenty of dates there. Choose a day when we don't have an event, and we will not unreasonably sanction your event. But we have to be aware of contracts that we collectively have signed with broadcasters and with sponsors to guarantee them the product that they think they're buying when they enter into an agreement to get involved in snooker.
Do you think the organisers didn't realise it would clash, or deliberately clashed it to stir up some controversy?
It was one of those unfortunate things where the Wuhan Open had all the players in it, and then there was a 2-week gap, and then there was the International Open, which again is in China, where all the players in it. Now, in between that 2 weeks, because the calendar is very full, World Snooker had Northern Ireland Open, sponsored by a gambling company, broadcast on Eurosport, broadcast all over the world, and those broadcasters expecting the best players.
Yeah.
So 5 players decided not to go back, and obviously they were therefore open to offers, shall we say, while they were there. But because it conflicted with the World Snooker event, it wasn't possible for us to allow it.
I see. In terms of, I don't want to feel like I'm focusing on the negatives of snooker, because obviously there's a lot of positives, and the Wuhan Open was a great success.
Yeah.
But in terms of...
the success is where snooker has grown to.
Yeah.
You know, I took over snooker, I think 13 or 14 years ago. It was dead.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons it was dead, because it was played too much with the influence of a handful of people.
Okay.
Self-interest comes to the front. They take their eye off the ball about what's good for the sport as what's good to a couple of individuals who may be quite famous.
Yes.
We came in and decided that we have to establish a level playing field, take away the comfort zone, make sure that ability is the only criteria for success. And on the back of that, we've gone from 5 ranking events to 20 odd. Prize money's gone from 3.5 million to coming up to 20. We've done a good job, and I know the business well enough to know that not just me, but the whole team at World Snooker's done a great job. And most players identify with that and say, yes, we've now got an opportunity we didn't have before. Some players may say, the game's got so big. It's never been bigger in the history of the sport. Not as big as it was in the 80s in the UK, it was massive. But globally, it's a different game. 100%. So there are now many more opportunities. Now those opportunities can come to the doorstep of the World Snooker Tour for the benefit of 130 players, or cheaper, they can go individual players and come up with an event outside of that organisation, which may make more financial sense for those small number of players and the organisation supporting it. It's not in snooker's interest though.
No.
In the long run, we're in this together, and together we're unbeatable.
I see some changes have been made to kind of the way players aren't so reliant on prize money now. I think there's a kind of minimum sort of earnings that players can make, which is good in terms of keeping the game.
Well, this was something I have to take. I probably would never have brought that in, because I like death and glory.
Motivate,
you either get in there and win and make a lot of money, or you starve, and that's brutal. But sport is brutal, and I always felt that you need to put that thought in people's heads.
Ruthless.
You know, it's ruthless because this is not a world for losers.
No.
So we can't all win, but we can all try to win.
Yeah.
But to their credit, and I think I was wrong, and I think the new board are right, they said, no, we have another responsibility to look after, at least in the basic level, the players that are perhaps learning their way on the tour, perhaps are struggling, illness, travel, maybe they can't afford some of the overseas trips, things like that.
Yeah.
And they come up with this idea of giving everybody a flat £20,000 to cover their expenses for the year. And the players can either accept it, or it's repayable out of prize money. So it doesn't cost 130 times £20,000. It's, that's 2.5 million. But actually, the way it worked out on the minimum earnings, it probably ended up costing a couple of £100,000. And I think they made the right call.
Was any of the logic behind that to kind of try and preempt, match fixing, players being tempted because they were struggling financially to be tempted into that?
These are one of the things that in today's society you have to bear in mind. It's not just poor people that fix matches.
No, greedy people.
I mean, we sent 10 players home to China quite recently.
Yeah.
2 of those players were in the top 16 in the world.
Fair point.
And they were earning hundreds of thousands of pounds, hundreds and hundreds of thousands. And to my disappointment, they broke the rules. I hope they've learnt their lesson. Bans were given between 2 years and a lifetime. Some of them were very bad offences. And I think the Chinese government has actually put a surcharge on top of that to maintain the message.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said to me, I wonder how many sports would have been as open and transparent as we were with those players. because China's a massive market. Probably 40% of our business is in China on snooker.
Yeah.
Can we afford to throw out 10 Chinese players? You know, how does that affect our relationships with China?
Question.
And these were the questions. And in the end, I'm not even saying that we wanted to do it, but we felt we had no choice but to do it. The maintenance of integrity, especially in sports where people gamble.
Yeah.
Because if people are putting a bet, whether it's £1 or whether it's £100 bet, they need to know it's straight.
Yes.
Because the moment there's doubt about it, and it's affected other sports, you've seen so many ways. Yeah. Scarily, look, I love sport. When I see someone run 0.2, 0.3 seconds inside their personal best,
Yeah.
the first thing in my head, because of history, I'm thinking, what are they on?
Sad, but
And that's
true,
a
isn't it?
sad reflection.
Yeah.
And it takes time to avoid that stigma. I think athletics is coming out of it, but for a long time it was, you know, and some of them were, by the way, were quite right to think like that about certain people.
Ben Johnson, the type.
Well, lots of them have subsequently been proven, you know,
Yeah.
to be on various things. The difference with snooker is we take the view integrity comes before anything.
Yeah.
And it's a business decision as well as a moral decision. We want people to trust us. We want fans to know this is real. This is not WWE.
No.
WWE is a great show. It's rehearsed. You know, we don't have to speculate. No. You can't lay odds on WWE, can you? I mean, you'd lose an awful lot of money.
No,
You was a
true,
bookmaker.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, we took the moral high ground, and I'm delighted to say that our colleagues in China and the authorities in China actually applauded us for taking that. And funny enough, since then, the Chinese young players here have suddenly sprouted some really good results. I don't know why that is, but China will be a major force in snooker, but it will be a major force within the rules.
That's good. I think, yeah, it's clear to see snooker will continue to go from strength to strength, and its worldwide image hasn't been tainted by any of this. In fact, probably it's been strengthened because, like you said, the integrity is still there.
I think most sporting organisations, if asked truthfully, will agree that World Snooker's Integrity Unit is the finest in the sport, of any sport in this country. Most bookmakers agree that, you know, we have a great relationships of exchanging information. We watch every single game.
Yeah.
Everything. We watch the betting trends of every match.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we can't afford for it to go down the wrong path.
Right.
Funnily enough, we've had this in darts as well, another sport we're very heavily involved in. We haven't had one potential case in darts in the last 10 years.
That's a good point.
And I wonder why. Because human nature is still human nature. Some people go down the wrong road in life. That's humanity itself. And yet in darts, these guys are so good, they could miss by a fraction.
True.
And it's not like missing a dead straight black.
No.
Yeah. That looked a bit dodgy when you die. And yet these guys are appreciative of the living they've got from the sport. They don't want to mess up. They're earning lots of money in comparison to where they've come from. And I think they are the best supporter of integrity within the sport of darts, because they understand, let's not rock the boat. Yeah. This is going very well.
That's very true.
So don't spoil it.
And also the motivation to win, and you know.
Well, that's the thing. I think as a failed sportsman myself in so many sports, is I've always been good at everything, but I've never been great at anything.
Jack of all trades.
You think if I got, my motivation always to be the best that I could be, and in life that wasn't good enough to earn a living from it. I had to become a promoter to do that.
Which you've done very well.
Which I've done okay. There's plenty of time to go.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think the whole ethos of sport has got to be clean.
Yeah.
You know, and we have these issues in boxing with drugs tests. There's an awful lot of people with opinions on that don't know much about the subject matter. And I don't profess to know the ins and outs myself. The danger in today's modern society is it becomes scientist against scientist instead of player against player.
Yeah.
So we've got to guard against that, and we've got to keep that, drilling that message home, which real sportsmen understand. You know, the thrill of the chase, the delight in victory is tainted if it's not just by your own efforts.
Fair.
And true sportsmen understand that.
Talk about true sportsmen there. Last weekend we saw KSI and Tommy Fury in the ring. So
wow.
There's a debate as to whether obviously they're not professional boxers, but you've got to give them credit for getting in the ring.
You know what?
and punching each other.
I think people get on their moral high horse.
Yeah, well they do, don't they?
The purists, the traditionalists, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and they are so historic today. You know, I look at, if you take just general boxing, I'm a big fight fan, obviously. Mm-hmm. The guys will talk about what a beautiful left jab, but the crowd's in there to see a knockout, to see action, to be entertained. And if you discount that, you do at your peril. There have been lots of really great fighters over history that have never really attracted a crowd or a TV audience, have been fabulous technical fighters. Now the world has subsequently moved again. So last Saturday you had a fight which was ridiculed by the boxing traditionalists. Yeah. But for me, I think it comes a much bigger picture is if they can earn a living within the rules, entertain people that are happy with the product they watch, fine.
That's where the question is though, because obviously it did 1.3 million pay-per-view buys, which is incredible numbers.
That's the global figure.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing number for a fight between two guys that aren't particularly good. And again, just wake up to, we're in 2023.
This is it.
Being good is not necessarily the only criteria for making money.
No.
Being famous is a far bigger criteria.
Yeah.
So there you had a fight between two guys that gave their all, I'm sure, but there's also another phrase in boxing, two donkeys make a great fight. Because it's even.
Of course.
The crowd that were there, sold out arena. Everybody in their seat at 6:30.
Yeah, very true.
Stayed the whole lot. I understand it was the lowest bar take ever seen at that venue.
Really?
They sat there and watched the fights.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. They were.
If you go to a main event in England, America, anywhere, the majority of their crowd arrive for the main event rather than the undercard.
That's true, yeah.
So it's an entirely different equation. Does it harm boxing? Definitely not. Okay. It potentially, the upside is that some of that crowd that are entertained want to see what we traditionalists would call the real boxing. Others have just had an entertaining evening, including my two 7-year-old grandchildren who went on strike and refused to go to bed unless they could watch the fight.
Really?
My 14-year-old grandchild went to boxing. It made Eddie, who's my son is flying around the world 24/7, made him take her to Manchester to watch the fight. If this is reaching a new audience, maybe if we're good enough, we can keep that audience for the more traditional sport.
Yeah.
I think the two ethos can live together. And I don't think I think they're entirely different audiences. But in time, one hopes that what we old people think was the traditional entertainment of boxing, which is no sport like it in the world, that they will benefit from that. Time will tell, but in the meantime, let the guys earn their living, and good luck to them.
Well, Tyson Fury's doing a similar thing. He's fighting an ex-MMA fighter soon. And
what would you say if it? I always say, what would I say if it was my son doing it?
Yeah.
So and I'm a boxing man. And Tyson Fury's old man's a boxing man. And your boy comes in and says, Dad, I got this chance to fight this fella. He's a tough guy, UFC, legend. But he's a bit past it. And of course, it's in a boxing ring with boxing rules. I'm a massive favourite. And the good thing is, for some obscure reason, they're going to pay me 20 or 30 million to fight someone I probably would bash up if we were sparring. But you know what? He's getting well paid and he's happy to take the challenge. I call that free trade.
Yeah, 100%.
And I couldn't say to my son, don't you dare take that fight. I would say to him, go and take it.
Probably the wiser decision than...
I said to my son the other day, he was never a great fighter, my boy. He can hold, what we say in the trade, he can hold his hands up. But he's a big lump and he's got a huge social media following. I said, have you thought about having a go yourself? And he's like, yeah, I probably could. So listen, the door's open to anyone. We live in a free country. Do what is best for you. Don't take the mick.
No.
Obey the rules and good luck to you.
My only other question on that is that in America, the pay-per-view is costing $79.99, whereas here it's $21.95. Is that due to the time? Originally due to the time difference, but obviously this is in Saudi Arabia, so the time difference.
These are smarter people than you and I.
Yeah.
They look at the world as a global market, and they decide how they can make the most money out of each market.
Yeah.
America has a history of pay-per-views at $80 or thereabouts. We have a history of pay-per-view at $19.99 to $24.99.
Yeah.
So when you're selling any product, you have to adjust to local conditions,
So it's just supply and demand.
But I think everybody had it off on that. I don't know the numbers exactly, of course, but one speculates that young Fury, ex-Love Island, good-looking boy, and he can fight a bit. He would have earned, I'm going to say, at least 100 times more than his professional boxing record would have justified. But if he can earn it, who am I to say don't take it?
There's another match that's been mooted. I think it was 21 years ago today that Wayne Rooney scored that famous goal against Arsenal. Now, potentially, he'll be fighting Jake Paul, I think. Can you see that happening, or is that just
I've given up speculating on this because every time I think of something ridiculous, it happens.
Right.
Wayne loves a fight.
Yeah.
As a youngster, he's always been a boxing fan. He's sparred, so he's also a Liverpool born and bred man.
Yeah. From the streets.
It's from the streets of Liverpool where boxing, is so proliferate everywhere. I don't see him turning down an offer if it's a big enough offer, Again, you can't even speculate.
Yeah.
You can't compare the uncomparable.
Right.
This is a one-off fun fight. And there's lots of things, isn't it? And would people pay to watch that? Probably yes.
I think they would, yeah.
So do I.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see if it happens. I don't.
The bad news for Wayne is that Logan Paul's not very good, but he knocks Wayne Rooney out every day of the week. So be careful.
We have seen Wayne Rooney knocked out before.
In his kitchen, I think.
Right. Yeah. So
when you get knocked out in your kitchen, it's not a great start to a professional career.
Indeed. Moving on to Matchroom star Anthony Joshua. Seems like he's having a bit of a sticky situation trying to get a fight made.
Yeah.
Who would you like to see him fight next?
I'm a fight fan. I want to see him fight Tyson Fury. I don't want to see him fight Deontay Wilder. But the fans have to understand that we're in the world of economics and big dollars. So our input is actually, I wouldn't say it's totally ignored, but largely ignored. There's a much bigger picture. Fights of that stature are $100+ million fights.
Yeah.
And the actual fan involvement is important, but the timing of it will be left inevitably to those people. Don't forget, we're talking about not two boxers, we're talking about two multi-millionaires fighting each other.
That's very true.
Each of them have got their own schedule, their own desires, their own ego. I think the easiest person in the world to involve in a fight is Anthony Joshua. He's not a world champion at the moment. He's a businessman as well as being a boxer, and he realises that the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
So he's very keen to fight anyone and everyone as soon as possible.
It's interesting because Andy Ruiz has called him out for a trilogy fight, which I think would be interesting because obviously
I think it's been done twice.
Yeah.
There is an interest, but no more of an interest than there is against, say, Anthony Joshua against Zhilei Zhang, the Chinese fighter that destroyed
Joe
Joyce on 2 occasions.
Yeah.
There are interesting fights out there. There are massive fights out there. The fighter and his advisors have to take the best fight for them. And of course, hanging in the distance are the mega fights.
Yeah.
So there's always a certain doubt about, do I take a semi-risky fight and potentially lose the mega? Do I take an easy fight and not earn anywhere near as much money? There's a balance.
Yeah.
I think Anthony's had 2 comeback fights since his dual losses to Usyk.
Yeah.
He's ready to go. But it takes 2 to tango. So Deontay Wilder, I think he's ready to go as well. Terms were agreed for them to fight in Saudi, and then that didn't materialise.
True,
And I think those 2 will be the next major fight. Reputedly, Tyson Fury has signed to fight Alexander Usyk. There's no date on that, and clearly it depends on
how it goes with Ngannou
the UFC
first.
fight.
Yeah,
With I don't think that's going to be an issue.
No.
But possibly Usyk may take a fight in between against Herkovic or someone like that. He's number one contender, so he keeps his belts. So you've got all this mishmash of fighters. You've got the governing bodies saying you must fight him or we'll strip you. You've got the traditionalists like myself that say, wouldn't it be wonderful to have one unified champion?
Yeah.
This sounds easy, but it is terribly difficult. I think one day Tyson Fury will fight Anthony Joshua, irrespective, because that will always be a big fight.
Yeah.
But whether that's next or the one after, it depends on the economics of the fighters involved.
Yeah.
Joshua will always be the easiest one, and I think Alexander Usyk is very easy to make fights happen.
Just loves fighting.
These blokes love fighting.
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder, Fury, a little bit more on the, especially in Fury's case, I've got the belts. I'll pick the time when I put them up to the real test. Or I may just walk away. Because he's the king of the gypsies, he's done everything, he's the number one heavyweight in the world. There's an argument to say leave it at that. So we never know. I think money talks in the end. But I don't think it will be as quick as the average fans want to see it happen.
Yeah, it's patience. You have to have a lot of patience as a boxing fan. Well, the question I've got here, in terms of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, do you think that, this is kind of hypothetical, but do you remember, obviously you do remember, Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis, huge fight in its day. Would this be even bigger than that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No question. I think Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder's bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know, there is as we get more and more choices of how to spend our leisure time and our leisure money, there's a natural rise to the top, and so those big events get bigger and bigger in time.
Yeah, especially as
if you take Mayweather Pacquiao, we waited years and years for that, and everyone said it's not the same fight. It took 500 or 600 million in total revenue.
Wow, huge numbers.
Huge numbers, and this heavyweight scene between those four is a similar, and without doubt, the biggest of the lot is Fury against Joshua.
Yeah, massive.
But when it's massive, one's a $500 million fight and the other one's a $400 million fight. You know, there's not a lot of difference in the big picture.
No. Eddie said back in the day he almost signed Tyson Fury, which is obviously kind of the one that got away in a way, but obviously you got Anthony Joshua.
Well, listen, I'll tell you the secret, and I don't think very many people know this. I nearly signed Tyson Fury years before. Before he turned pro, I was at a fight in Newcastle, and Tyson, big lad, great name. That's why my first reaction was, big lad, great name. I could see money going around, you know? And his dad said, my boy's going to turn pro. He wants to sign with you. But we want £100,000 signing on fee. And in those days, this is going back a number of years, £100,000 was a lot of money. I mean, that was like Olympic champion stuff. And this kid was untested, but obviously big. And I said, no, you must be mad. So I made the first mistake. And then a few years later, of course, Eddie had the chance to sign him in Monte Carlo when Tyson was going through a very sad time in his life. And if you want a sandwich, you can now get one. Right, we'll go back on that. So Tyson Fury, where do we want to pick up from?
I'll just carry on from Monte Carlo, I think it's fine here.
Well, now you've got a situation where Eddie's announced that, he did have a chance to sign him, but he didn't believe that the transformation that Tyson eventually did do was possible. So, I mean, look, we got it wrong. And you have to take your hat off to Tyson Fury. He turned his life round and he became the number one in the world. I don't know how many people turned down the Beatles, but put us in that queue.
Fair enough, quite a few you'd imagine. But in terms of boxing promotions, I think Showtime decided to kind of walk away from boxing. Is that something that surprised you, and how do you feel about that?
No, I think boxing's moving between. It grew up in the era of free-to-air television. And boxing does produce some unbelievable moments. We've been responsible for some of them. With massive audiences. It was a big fight was something really special. That is beginning to change it began to change with pay-per-view, subscription television, pay-per-view, less on free-to-air. That means it's harder to build up the personalities because they're not seen by so many people.
Yeah.
Smaller audiences on the subscription channels. Now we're seeing another change from there down to subscription channels purely on sport. To be able to watch when you want and watch on any application you wish to, any platform. So the business model is changing through sport time, and I don't see that changing at all. I actually see it being more and more. Now, and that may mean that the sport contracts because the number of people who can afford it.
True.
If you had, on a Saturday night when I was doing the Eubank and the Ben fights, I would get 10 million viewers every Saturday night on ITV, free to air. Today, if you get 500,000, you've done unbelievably well.
Right.
20 times more shows to make that fighter as famous as he was before.
Exactly.
That's a downside. But the upside is that there's lots of other sports rights that cost a lot of money, and football being the biggest sport of all.
Yes.
And that means that reduces the choice of free-to-air broadcasters who have quite limited money. When you're a subscription or a pay-per-view service, you have unlimited access. It just depends on the fans if they want to pay.
That's right.
They can generate money that we haven't seen before in the sports industry.
So
and that's the goal you're going for.
It's the casual fans that are kind of get left by the wayside, but obviously the hardcore boxing fans that are...
The hardcore are always there. That's 5%. You know, that's 500 tickets at every show.
Yeah.
But you're doing the show in 20,000 seater.
Yeah, obviously so you need a lot more.
And the worst thing about casual fans is they have no loyalty necessarily.
That's right.
They're not really bought in.
Right.
So it falls on the promoter to make sure that the fan experience is better, the quality of the fights are better, no gimmies, no freebies.
Undercards are
everything.
Stacked,
Everything has to be different. And Eddie's probably, and I'm biased of course, the only promoter that recognises the value that has to be put back into a show and the money that has to be spent. But the upside of that is if you do it right, then there's this enormous volume of business out there waiting for you.
100%. You mentioned football there and the Premier League and the way it rebranded 30 odd years ago. What was it? Yeah, it's obviously done an incredible job. I think the latest deal, the 3 p.m. blackout has been extended for another 3 years to 2028. How do you feel about that? Is that
I was surprised.
Yeah,
I was surprised because I come from the world where money buys whatever you want. It's just a question of how much.
Seemingly
I think
buy
that's one. My cynical view on that is that's one part of the contract that may be revisited during the early stages of that contract.
Okay, you think there's a chance?
I think there'll be, because everyone's always looking for money. So when you have a product as brilliant as the Premier League, you maximise your revenues. Once you've maximised them, it's quite nice to have one or two things up your sleeve that you can maybe throw into the mix later on to re-maximise it. Call me a cynical old fool, but buy me a pint when they do it.
Okay.
Because you heard it here first.
Okay, that is interesting. Yeah, I didn't consider that, but you could be onto something there. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? But in terms of, did you see England against Italy last week? I don't know if you caught that.
It was okay.
Yeah, nothing amazing, but it's good to have qualified. But the fact that England fans are booing Harry Maguire and booing Jordan Henderson, can you understand that? What does
Ordinary people have their choice of how they want to behave. I mean, as long as it's not illegal, I say to them, look, you bought a ticket that gives you the right.
Yeah.
You know,
No doubt.
they always boo the bad guy in the pantomimes, don't they?
Yeah.
They used to boo my son. My wife used to get so upset about it.
Really?
Why is everyone booing Edward?
Okay,
I say because he's popular, because he's big, because he makes a lot of money, because he's powerful.
That's right.
Ordinary people go against that, and they will, as long as it's done in the right spirit. There's some, as we all know, in these days, certain things being chanted or being sung are unacceptable. And we've got to get rid of that, which I think we are. I think there's progress being made. But on just an entertainment level or a personal appreciations level, people are allowed to express themselves.
Let's see if Harry Maguire can turn around like Eddie has. I don't know.
Well, I think people like Harry Maguire can. He's a good player.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything wrong, has he?
Suddenly, for whatever reason, he has in certain areas he's not flavour of the month.
No.
That shows you now what's the character of Harry Maguire, and I think he had more than enough to deal with it. So I wouldn't worry about him. The good thing about being booed is they never forget you.
That's true. Yeah.
They used to say no publicity is bad publicity.
Yeah.
It's a similar sort of outlook.
Stay notorious.
Yeah.
In terms of, we've got 2 World Cups going on simultaneously at the moment, the Cricket World Cup and the Rugby World Cup. It seems to me like there hasn't really been, the Cricket World Cup hasn't taken off. There hasn't been a close match yet, really. It's been a lot of one-sided matches, and the format is very slow and kind of...
I think both of them are very slow.
They are, aren't they? Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me, I'm lost now. I mean, I'm an avid sports fan. I follow everything, you know. I'm really involved in, especially when it's England versus or something like that, or Wales versus, or Ireland or Scotland. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I don't know now where exactly I'm up to. This is
dragging on, isn't it?
This is in danger of running longer than the mousetrap. You know, so I mean, we get some shocks, of course. I mean, obviously, Afghanistan beating England was a massive shock. But the biggest shot, I think, was Netherlands comprehensively beating South Africa the other day. But then I think we're up to somewhere around match 17 out of 45.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping against hope, because I love the event, really. I'm hoping I live long enough to see the end of it. So there's always that. As far as the rugby is concerned, I think we have seen some shocks as well. Not necessarily shock results, but shock performances. The Samoans and the Fijians have both caused a few upsets on the rugby side. England have gone into it on the basis of being almost underdogs from some underperformances beforehand, now find themselves in the semi-finals. So I suppose that is getting now to the very exciting stages.
It's about time, but
it's been a long time coming.
It really has, almost a month and a half, I think, so it's far too long.
As I say, I understand where I am now in rugby. We're at semi-final stage.
Yeah, about time. But.
And there was a lot happened beforehand, and it hasn't had a lasting effect on my sporting memory. The cricket, I'm totally confused on.
Yeah.
There seems to be everybody's playing everybody forever. But one day it'll get down to the semi-finals, and I shall re-engage.
Talking about darts, obviously a sport that you helped revitalise and reinvent, and it's gone from strength to strength. It's less than 2 months till the World Championship starts. Now I'm looking forward to it. I know everyone is. I can't wait for it to get going.
Nor me.
But it's hard to predict, isn't it, so far away? But do you have your eye on any 2 potential finalists and a potential winner?
The great thing about darts is the evolution of darts has not just been financial, it's also been technical. It's not as if they've got new equipment like new bats or new balls. Basically it's the same equipment. But following Phil Taylor's career, players have become more professional. They called themselves professional darts players. They weren't really professional. A lot of them had other jobs. A lot of them just played because they had natural ability. And then along came Phil Taylor, dominated the game, 17 world titles. Interestingly, that when Eric Bristow won his last world title in about 88, 89, I think his average was about 88. 3-dart average. Today we all know if you don't throw 110, you're not getting there.
No.
So you see the way that's gone. Now along that way also, people like us have done a really good job on expanding the sport, more opportunities, more events. Prize money when we took over was $500,000. It's over 20 million now, and it's going one way, up and up and up. Ordinary people are changing their lives by being darts players. And that's fabulous news. Kids are coming through and they're watching the TV and then they're copying it. So Phil Taylor said, I practice 6 hours a day. So kids are saying, well, I'll do 7. And they're automatically going, as it happened in snooker, when Steve Davis came along, he was the first snooker professional, really professional. He lived professionally, practiced professionally. And his game got better and better. And the old guard got soft. Moved that forward to darts. Longfield now, whether it's Rob Cross, Michael Smith, Michael Van Gerwen, there's probably 16 players that could beat. This is music to your ears, because this is a bookmaker's dream event.
That's true.
Because if the bigger the field, if it's a Grand National field, there's no way you guys are going to lose money on that.
No, true.
But when you look at it, looking for value is difficult, because this is set play. With legs, you can hit, most players can hit 5, 6, 7 legs of electric form. And that can be enough to carry them over the line. When you're playing sets, you can win a set 3-0 or you can win a set 3-2.
That's true.
That makes a massive difference, because you can win a match having lost the number of legs played.
Yes.
Ridiculously, but it's a great system to make sure that the result is still anyone's game right until the end. If you're watching the World Match Play best of legs and you're playing best of 19, if someone goes 7-0 up and it's raced to 10, pretty well game over.
True.
But you can be 2 sets up, raced to 3, and it's, doesn't mean the same thing.
On the edge of your seat,
so that favours the top players, the ones with experience, the ones that hold their nerve. So therefore, you definitely always look for the Gerwin prices. The Michael van Gerwen, I think, will definitely be the favourite because for big events, he pulls out something special. Michael Smith can do it. People like Rob Cross, a little bit on the underneath of that, but they're playing really well.
Won in Australia.
Luke Humphries, he's got the monkey off his back, having won the World Grand Prix, suddenly might be what we call the big stage player. That's that level of experience you need. Now underneath those players, and their odds are going to be not prohibitive, but they're not going to be over generous, because I think any of those could go on to win it. The ones we're all looking for is those 50 to 1s to 200 to 1 shots that are coming through.
Like Rob Cross was when he won it, wasn't he?
Exactly. Rob Cross is perfect. So now Josh Rock, this young man from Belfast, he's been playing really well. I think he came off the boil a little bit, but it is cyclical in darts. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you can be hot and then you can be cold. He got to the final of the Players Tour yesterday. He got beat by Gary Anderson. Gary Anderson's come from nowhere. He's got a fishing lake. He leads a nice life. This last 6 months, he's rediscovered his love of darts, and he has the stage experience, and he's going to be a massive price. So I would look at Gary Anderson. He's a strange type of competitor in as far as he gives the impression that he don't really care.
That's true, he does.
He's so laid back. I can go home, I've got money in the bank. I've got a nice wife and family. He loves his fishing, he's got a few fishing lakes he rents out. His life is good. There's nothing quite like that rush of adrenaline when you're competing at the sharp end.
It's true.
I think he's refound that. He's won 2 Pro Tour events in the last 3 weeks. And he doesn't play in every event. His danger for me, the only danger for Gary, is the fact that the tournament takes 17 days.
True.
On a 1 day, he would be a good price for me. At anything over 16 to 1.
It's the stamina.
The stamina.
Right.
It's the stamina that really gets, even people like Ronnie O'Sullivan, who's very fit, mental stamina is different to physical stamina.
That's true.
But they're both players in the game.
Yeah.
So a kid like Josh Rock, he's going to be up for it, he's going to be excited. His life has changed in 12 months. He was working in a chicken factory in Belfast. He's earned, I'm going to guess, somewhere around £300,000 this year.
Not bad, is it? Not bad.
From 15 or 20 grand a year.
He's going to be more next year as well.
He's ready. And he's hungry. He wants the nice things. He's looking at Ferraris instead of Fords. He's got that in him. He's going to be dangerous, but can he keep that hot? Does he feel the nerves a bit more because of the enormity of the task ahead of him? $500,000 to the winner, Premier League, change your life, a seeded player, endorsements. He suddenly becomes £1 million a year player and more. That sometimes can be a negative when they see the winning line. Different athletes are good, but the ones that win are the ones that run through the line, not stop at the line.
Right.
So for me, experience-wise, I like Gary Anderson.
Dark horse, Gary Anderson.
Just for the fun of watching someone who on his day can blow away anyone. This guy's beaten Michael van Gerwen 6-0. You're not a muppet if you can do that. Can he keep it up? Or do we just bet round by round? I like round by round. And I like the smart bets on darts. I don't bet myself because I'm not allowed to. But if I did, I'll be betting most 180s. I'll be betting highest checkout.
That's it. The treble, the win, highest checkout.
The long bet, the long book, is your book because it's the Grand National. The short night by night bets, 1 against 1 bets, and it might be 5 to 6 to 2. Sometimes even people like bookmakers make mistakes. They don't understand current form. Watch the results. Darts is becoming now, it is the second most viewed sport per hour on Sky Television behind Premiership football.
Yeah.
It is massive.
I love it.
I understand it, and it's going to get bigger. The downside is we can't cope with the crowds. 90,000 tickets sold out in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Premier League went on sale the other day, 70,000 tickets sold first day.
Yeah.
But we can only do what we can do. More and more broadcasters are getting involved. The sport's in a great place. The players understand their role in participation in character building, the drama, and then the just purity of the sport, uninterrupted by integrity issues. It's something for the future. And I think that's 17 days. And I'll give you another, because we're friends. I'm going to give you another insider.
Okay.
This is the last time it will be 17 days. Because it's going to get bigger next year.
That's what I was hoping you'd say. Okay, excellent. Well, I won't ask you how many days, unless you want to...
2 scoops in 1 interview.
Yeah, no.
More than enough for you.
Barry, yes, very generous of you. Thank you, thank you. Just a couple more questions, just moving away from sports slightly towards kind of business, family and celebrity type of things. I know there was an equity purchase of Matchroom that was being sort of mooted and discussed.
Yeah.
Do you want to update us on that? Or?
Well, I mean, we're a private owned company. The shareholders are 3 people that were shareholders in 1982.
Right, yeah.
I formed Matchroom. I'd made a lot of money myself selling my snooker business. I was chilled, relaxed, 34 years old.
Yeah.
But I thought I needed something more in my life, so I formed Matchroom Sport to have fun. And actually, that hasn't changed since 1982. The 3 shareholders were me, my son Edward, and my daughter Katie. And they're the 3 shareholders today. I'm 75, it makes sense, because I think like a bookmaker. It's probably time to lay off a bit of my bet.
Fair enough.
So
you're in a strong position.
We're in a very strong position. We're the biggest sports promotion company in the world.
Exactly.
And we have a fantastic growth record, and that looks to be continued because we have the best management anyway. So people are making approaches to us, and we're listening, but we have a very clear understanding of the type of person we want.
Okay.
And if anything thinks that we need their money bad enough to fall over and agree to things that we wouldn't, then they're talking to the wrong
they're living in the
mother, whatever you want to call me.
Okay.
So talks are ongoing. It's not a priority for us.
Yeah.
It would be nice, but at the end of the day, we're a successful business and we enjoy. I know money's really important to everyone. There's no point in kidding you.
Of course.
But it's also such a bonus when you're in something you love. I mean, for me, I'm trying to retire at 75. I'm finding it very difficult.
Yeah.
I actually love this industry. I love promoting sports.
Yeah.
I love selling tickets. I love getting TV ratings. I like to see people's career. I like to make lives if I can help it in any way.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's not something I'm ever going to walk away from, or my family. But if someone wants to join us for the ride, and providing they tick all the boxes we want them to tick, the door is always open.
Eddie says you sometimes take the mick out of him for certain decisions. I think the one he mentioned was bringing Lomachenko to the O2 and losing £1 million. Is that something that you mind him off about? Is that the biggest loss?
Look, I look back on my own life and think I'm embarrassed. The list of my failures and disasters are too long, over 40 odd years.
I don't believe you.
But actually, you do learn from those.
Of course, yeah.
And sometimes, Lomachenko is a great example of what we were saying earlier. As a purist, you look at Lomachenko and you think, this guy's unbeatable, he's brilliant, his feet, his balance, the way he hit the angles. Yeah. But then you forget that after a while, you've seen all that.
And you're just waiting for the knockout.
And I'm like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
I got criticised the other day for looking at Charlie Edwards, right? And first 3 rounds I watched Charlie Edwards, I thought he was the best fighter in the world I'd ever seen. His feet, I've never seen anything like it. His reactions, better than Naz. His feet, better than Lomachenko. I mean, and this is praise from a bloke that knows a little bit about the sport.
Yeah.
But then I felt after that, okay, I've seen that. Now I want to see plant your feet, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And everyone said, oh, you can't. The purists criticised me. I wasn't critical of Charlie Edwards. Charlie Edwards is next in a fight against Boom Boom Martinez. This guy is a non-stop punching machine. And that is a most brilliant fight to watch because it's a purist against a basher.
Slugger, yeah.
And the purist, if the purist wins, he becomes superstar. And Charlie Edwards deserves that. He deserves that because he is outstandingly brilliant, but it still has to be in entertaining fights. In that fight, the opponent helps make the fight because styles make fights.
Definitely.
If you get two styles that don't work, they can be a stinker, and that's not entertaining, however clever you are.
No, very
so
true.
when I take the mick out of Eddie, it's when he goes in. He was into his purist mode. What do I want to do? I want to bring Lomachenko to the UK. I mean, wow, he's a proper world star. Mm-hmm. He lost £1 million. Well done. Good call. And then you do something. I mean, my first fight was Bruno versus Bugner. They weren't the two best heavyweights in the world. It made a fortune. Why? Because the public speak.
Yeah.
And the public said, I like this.
That's right. That's right.
And you must never forget your paying customers.
Oh, true.
Don't just do something what you like.
I was going to say, what advice would you give to someone like a young, if you go back in time?
Well,
obviously
I
you did
just
to
say,
Eddie, but
sit down quietly and eat a bowl of common sense.
Right.
That's your first breakfast.
Okay.
Then start thinking your plan like an accountant would think, profit and loss account. What's my target audience? How do I maximise my revenue? Mm-hmm. Can I give my sponsors, my broadcasters and the fans the type of entertainment that justifies a certain ticket price?
Yeah.
Be realistic. But if you get you're mixing a cake, and if you get the ingredients spot on, you will. I mean, I fluked my first one. Bruno was just me saying, I'd like to see that fight. I did it for myself.
Yeah.
And it ended up being this colossal success, 18 million audience.
Yeah.
But it was a fluke. So that could have been a Lomachenko type fight because I was doing it for myself.
Yeah.
Today, when we look at the market, we look at much more data. We look at where do we want to stage this show with this fighter? What's the lifestyle of people in that area that are going to watch this fight? There's a lot more science going into it than just this will be a good punch up.
True. True.
But you mustn't lose the good punch up as well.
I know.
So you're talking about, if you look at our fight cards now, I mean, they start at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So you're like YouTube live, Matchroom live for the undercard, and building up to the fight itself at 7 o'clock. The reason being because we've got 125 fighters under contract. They've got to work. If they don't work, they don't earn. They've got families to keep.
Of course.
But we also want to build the next level of superstar, and you have to start at the beginning. And whether it's a Johnny Fisher, he's a great example.
Yeah.
We start at the beginning.
Boxing Writers Right of the Year, I think, was he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Won his first proper title, Southern area. Now, he's not earning the money that Tommy Fury's earning.
No,
but he has a career plan, and we have a career plan for him.
Yeah.
And I think he's intelligent enough to follow that. And who knows? And I think everyone will enjoy being on the journey, and you suck in more and more support at every level.
Yeah.
And if you get to the stage where it goes right, by the time he's 20 and 0, you have a major global sports star on your hands.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
He's on the way.
But it's built on a proper business footing, because if emotion just comes into it, I like him. What do? I like him, give him an easy one. Give him an easy one, the fans don't like it. He doesn't get the support.
Yeah.
The TV companies say, put him further down the list. You've got to think about the whole cake and the ingredients, and just sit quietly in a dark corner. Just rely on common sense and ask yourself the question, which I did with darts years ago. Would I buy this product? Would me personally come to a darts match?
Yeah.
Would I personally watch a darts match? The question was, I want to see technical level above belief. Tick. I want to have a great night. World's a shit place. I want to have a night out where I can have a few pints. I want to have a little bet. I want to have a little charm. I want to have a night out with my pals. Not complicated at all.
Keep it
Tick.
simple. Yeah.
I want to have players with ambition. I want them to involve the crowd. I want them to be their own personality. They can help me by being themselves, but develop it to a bigger stage. Do I have that? Tick. Just go through the shopping list, Baz's shopping list, and in the end, you put it in the broadcast, the sponsorship, and the ticket revenue pie. You press the button to start the show, and then you take it out when it tastes so good.
Great quotes there, I love that. A slightly more left field question here. Obviously, I'm sure you're very proud to receive your OBE in 2020, I think. David Beckham received one in 2003, but he's been kind of stuck on that, or if you can call it, stuck on the OBE. I think allegedly he's kind of hoping for a knighthood, but still hasn't received one. Do you think he deserves? Obviously, he's been a great ambassador for the country.
Terrific ambassador, but he has a weakness. You know, when you want something so bad, so often you don't get it, so you become disappointed. Now, my way is entirely different. I take what God gives me. Would I like to be a knight of the realm? Of course. I'd like to be king. I'm not going to make king, I know that. But I'm not going to be disappointed because I'm going to just concentrate on my life, my work, my family, and I'm going to be happy. If people care, I mean, I think I'm the most, I don't think this is scoop number 3, I can't believe you're getting this. I don't think anyone in the world has ever been inducted to 4 separate sporting organisations. So I'm a Hall of Famer, International Boxing Hall of Fame, the big one, I think.
Yeah.
I'm obviously in the Darts Hall of Fame.
Of course.
I'm in the Snooker Hall of Fame. Yeah. And a few years ago, I got inducted into Billiard Congress of America Hall of Fame, which goes right back throughout the history of America. Okay. So I never asked for any of them. No. Every one of them gave me a huge amount of pleasure. Going to Windsor Castle and getting my OBE was just one of my great days. I was just quite sad that your mum and dad's not there because I value those things. But I'm not going to live my life waiting for them. No, if they come, they come. So don't push it, David. You'll get it soon enough.
Yeah, it'll come in due course.
It'll come in due course. Yeah. When the big man upstairs is ready, you'll get a tap on the shoulder.
When you give up, you start losing hope, and then suddenly it happens.
Well, the more I mean, a lot of people talk about it. The more that it's obvious that David Beckham really wants it. Actually, the less likely you'll get it.
Yeah.
If you just turn around and concentrate on doing your job for which you're getting the award for in the first place, you'll get it automatically at the right time. Yeah. Please God, you live long enough.
Yeah, exactly. The last question I've got is I didn't write this one, but would you want to see Eddie on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here doing a Bush Tucker child?
We have a great family experience. I mean, he's a friend as well as a son.
Of course.
But we also are very competitive, our family, and we do take the piss out of each other all the time, especially when something doesn't go right. And, well, number one, I can tell you, he won't have the time to go on I'm a Celebrity ever. No, because the way he's working at the moment, and will be working like that for the next few years, it's impossible. Yeah. Number two is, I would pay money to get him on I'm a Celebrity because I would just get so much entertainment of watching him mess it all up.
I think we'd love it.
Everyone would love it. I think that Eddie made a really good point the other day, and it wasn't being big-headed, probably misunderstood, where he said, if you asked a man in the street, name 3 people in boxing, they would name Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn. That is a statement of where our boxers stand in public recognition, but also a credit to the work he's put in and the profile he's created for himself. And you know, you don't get anything without making hard work. It's hard work to get anywhere, doing any job.
Right.
It doesn't just, anything that someone just gives you never lasts. You have to build sustainable businesses in the same way as and part of that sustainable business is Eddie's personal profile. That's how we sell tickets. That's how we attract sponsors. That's how we attract fighters, how we attract broadcast contracts. Come to the spider's web. Come into the family, we say, but then wrap the web around them so they can't get away. But you know, it's all down to hard work, and no one should ever knock anyone who gets anything from working hard.
No, 100%. Barry Hearn, I think that wraps it up nicely. It's been an honour and a pleasure. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom.
Enjoyed it. Thank you. Great time.
Stuff.
Good to see you.
Brilliant. Thank you.